You look at the margin on this property, we're going to be a significant producer. This is going to be the world's largest silver producing asset. We've got a Hollywood problem there. We can't get away from where we're drilling because we keep finding more and more.
How do you stop yourself becoming and having the problems that big companies do? How do you tell the growth story and share on the upside? Hello and welcome to Crux Investor. First of all, thank you so much for watching this video. If you like it, give us a thumbs up. That helps us to understand if this is the sort of video that you would like us to spend our time, money and effort on for you. Also, do leave your comments below. Helps us understand the questions you think we should be asking, how you think we did, and of course, what you thought of MAG Silver. You can also catch us as a podcast, an article or transcription on cruxinvestor.com. And of course, for our Crux Investor Club members, you get early access to this video. And if you haven't already done so, please click the button in the corner of the screen to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And of course, for more videos like this one, click the notification bell. We spoke earlier today to George Paspalas, who's the CEO of MAG Silver. They are listed on the TSX and also the NYSE. Last time we spoke to them, market cap 900 million back in November, now 2 billion. So things are going quite well, helped obviously because of the price of silver moving through the $25 mark. Exciting times for silver producers. These guys in the development stage have partnered up with Fresnillo. They have the world's largest scale silver mine potentially, and certainly one of the highest grades in the world. So a lot's going in their favor at the moment. We talked to George about the partnership, what the JV terms are, where they're going to be focusing their time, money and effort on. They've raised a bit of money recently because they need to pay their way in these things. So lots discussed. Take a look at the description below. Anything interests you in particular, click on the number beside that topic. It's called timestamp. I'll jump you to that part of the interview. Otherwise, sit back and enjoy what George has to say. George, how are you doing, sir?
Well, thanks, Matthew. Really well.
Well, your company certainly is. We spoke to you back in November last year when you were just a mere 900 million market cap. Things have dramatically changed. We were keen to speak to you. So where are you today? Let's start with that.
In Vancouver. We're trying to sort of respect social distancing and with limited exposure people in the company. So I'm at home, locked up as I have been since March. But it's been interesting, where we have achieved a lot of things locked up. And the last few months have been quite amazing for MAG, as you said. The share price is the product of a few things. I think the most important thing really that's happened in the last few months has been the investment by Eric Sprott.
Yeah, all good stuff. And we're going to get into it, I promise you, George. But big new audience since you last spoke to us. So can you, just for people who haven't heard the story before, give us a 1 minute overview of what it is that you are? Because it's a slightly unusual structure to what you do.
Sure. MAG IPO'd in 2003, an exploration company. We had a couple of properties. One of them was the Juanicipio project in Mexico. The culture in our company then, and it remains today, and certainly while I'm at the helm, it'll remain in the future, is we focus on high IRR projects. High grade, but not just grade, high grade that's recoverable, that has a good margin because you can mine it and process it, etc. Hence, MAG doesn't have a lot of assets. The principal asset we have is arguably one of the best silver shows in the world. I don't even think that's an argument myself. So MAG IPO'd. We went out on the Juanicipio project. We raised a little money on the IPO, and our very first hole, hole 1, was a discovery hole into the Juanicipio vein. We drilled more. It was tough to raise money back then. We offered up a joint venture to our neighbour, Fresnillo PLC, the world's largest silver producer, who have surrounded this significant postage stamp sized joint venture tenement. It's about 7 kilometres wide and about 18 kilometres long. Make a long story short, we continue to have success. Fresnillo earned into the joint venture, and Juanicipio now is the highest grade undeveloped silver property in the world and absolutely on the cusp of generating cash flow. It's a 56-44% joint venture. Fresnillo are the operators. They're the 56% holder, and we're the 44% non-operator. Now, that gives us a lot of advantages. Fresnillo have been operating in this area for over 135 years. They've built 3 of these Fresnillo vein concentrating plants within a 6-kilometre radius. The one they're building now for the joint venture is the 4th one. So you can have a look at the metrics of the Juanicipio project, and there's a PEA from 2017, from late 2017, which just shows incredible financial returns from a remarkable deposit that's continuing to grow. But you have to couple that with the fact that Fresnillo, as the operator, are building, in this case, the 3rd 4,000 tonne per day concentrator on the same vein. Right? We're fortunate. That whole mineralized structure, Valdecanes Herias vein, we're sitting on the fluid upwelling zone, the source of the metals that mineralize that whole system. So it's a Cinderella story from that point of view.
It is. And before you sell me the whole story in 5 minutes, I want to get some information out of you so I can better understand what it is you're saying. So just on the JV, is 56-44. What are the terms there? Are you carried for any of it, or is this why you've needed to raise some money recently?
No, we were carried for $5 million of exploration in the early days, and there was a cash payment once that was satisfied. But when the joint venture, when Fresnillo had earned in, from then on, we have to pay 44% of everything. But we share in 44% of all of the spoils as well. And that's why, you're right, Matt, that's why we've had to raise capital along the way to fund exploration and now to fund development.
Okay, so talk to me more about this relationship, because it's really important, because the structure of what you got sounds fantastic, because there's not too many of you on your team, because Fresnillo are doing all the work. How involved are you with the exploration component? Do you jointly agree what you're going to do and therefore what it's going to cost? Because at some point, if they go large on you, you're going to have to get out to market and raise a lot of capital, and that's out of your control potentially. So talk to me about those conversations.
We're very involved in the exploration aspects. I mean, that's our core competency. We discovered the first vein on this property. We've had theories about south-north trending structures, which have never been found before. We've now found 3. So the exploration is very interactive between Fresnillo and MAG, and it's just a good team working together. And every hole they drill, they find something. So teams work together well when you have success. On the mine development side, Fresnillo have got the horsepower. They've got their own internal engineering firm. They build these things for breakfast. They know how to run them. And so we're a little more, we call it sitting in the back of the bus, and we let them operate because they know what they're doing.
Okay.
And by virtue, we have 8 people in our company.
Yeah, which is astounding. I mean, the costs are low. We did talk about it previously. But you've raised $60 million in a private placement in April. You've subsequently raised another $50 million. This is not cheap, because this is one of the highest grade, biggest silver mines in the world. And in the current market, especially in the last 2 weeks, that gets a little bit exciting. So are you going to need to, or will you take advantage of the current market and raise more capital anytime soon?
Well, I like the way you're getting that soundbite. The highest grade, largest undeveloped silver property in the world. That's all you have to remember. We're essentially almost there to be fully funded for our share of the build. The private placement of 60 million Canadian in April got us a long way there, and we announced only about a month ago the establishment of a $50 million US at the market offering ATM, and that's going very well. And I think when that's done, we are going to be, the balance sheet's going to be in great shape for our build. The other aspect is that we have the potential to realise some cash flow second half of this year from selling some of the pre-production mineral from underground to Fresnillo. So that's almost like an insurance on the balance sheet. So we don't want to take advantage of the situation if we don't have to, because there's no need to overcapitalize the company, because the cash flows that come out at $15 silver are immense. The cash flows now are just, I don't know, I don't think our computers are big enough in the office. We might have to get some bigger computers to handle all those numbers. So yeah, when we get to the end of the ATM, we're going to be in very good shape. And I mean, the ATM's going well.
Okay, fine. 2017 PEA, it's very unconventional. I think you are very unconventional. So your approach to this is unconventional. So 2017 PEA, what other data have you amassed or will you amass before getting into production? And why don't you need to follow convention?
Essentially, the PEA, the end of, is dated the end of 2017, but the drilling is actually the beginning of 2017. So what's available is Fresnillo have updated resources and declared reserves, and that was this year in May. So there's updated resources and reserves out there, which gives the investor some line of sight onto the last couple of years of drilling, which have been mainly in the deep zone. But here's the difference, Matthew. For a start, these systems are unique in the sense that they are very well defined structurally. They're in a vein, and in fact, if you go on our website, look at the corporate presentation, I think there's 2 pictures on there that show you pictures of the vein, and you can see bright shiny silver, you mine that, and then the black stuff at the sides, there's nothing in it, you don't touch it, right? So structurally controlled, very high grade, particularly being at the top of an upwelling zone, very homogenous. So you don't need to do exhaustive studies. And on this structure, Val de Canes, Fresnillo have been mining Sesito since 2008. So why do a feasibility study if you've got a real life, which happens to be the world's largest single silver producing asset, operating on the same rock in the same environment? That's continuous.
That's what it's getting at, is the comfort, because Fresnillo have been there wherever it's 100+ years mining the area. They're using their experience and knowledge to do that. So you're skipping out some of the overhead, some of the cost, with the knowledge that these guys are telling you they know what they're doing, right? Correct.
And the real salient point there is Fresnillo operating in the area, Fresnillo operating on the same vein, right? It's not even in the area, it's the same mineralized structure.
Okay. Talk to me about the exploration at the moment. So what more do you need to do? I mean, you're talking about getting into production, so you feel you've got enough information to be able to start that process. What happens, before we talk about exploration, what happens between now and getting into production? What sort of timeline are we talking about?
Okay, so we're now all guns blazing on constructing the flotation plant on surface and continuing to set up the underground for mining. The underground will probably realise commercial production here in the second half of this year. We've got material stockpiled from underground development that's mineralised, and commencing, I'd say in the next month, we are going to process 2 days worth, about 16,000 tonnes of that material in the Fresnillo plant. And that will continue every month while we are building the flotation plant. Now, in October of this year, we're scheduled to bring the first production stope online underground, right, which is going to enable us to build a bigger stockpile for the Juanicipio plant. I don't know whether that means we'll process more at the Fresnillo plant or not. But we'll start to get a stockpile built up, and then come the middle of next year, we're ready to press the button on the flotation plant and off we go. And here is the real value in this exercise of processing 2 days a month in the Fresnillo plant. we will hit the button and off we go, because we will have a number of months of 2 days of just Juanicipio rock going through a very similar plan. And that's going to de-risk our startup and our ramp up. And if you go back to the PEA of 2017, if you have a look at the detail in the mine plan, you see there's a 3-year ramp up from starting up the plant to the nameplate capacity of 4,000 tonnes per day. Fresnillo and ourselves now confidently believe that we can probably get to 85% of nameplate by the end of next year. So if metal prices remain up, that's a huge amount of additional cash flow compared to the 3-year ramp up. So, that's probably the biggest positive out of the development timetable at the moment. So we'll start the process, campaign 2 days a month through the Fresnillo plant. Yeah, we'll probably make some cash out of that, and that's going to offset our capital requirements. But most importantly, it's a real live evaluation of how the Juanicipio rock performs, so we have a much better startup on the plant.
Okay, you're getting a lot of inbound calls there. I can hear your computer pinging. Exciting times. Okay, let's come to the exploration component, because you're sitting on a lot of property. You've got a JV with Fresnillo on parts of it. Do you maintain the current business model going forward? That's working for you clearly? Are there any desire on your part to become a miner elsewhere?
Well, that's my background. What I love doing, building and running mines.
Yeah, but this is easier, isn't it? Way easier.
It's a lot easier when you're running the show. But we're fortunate with a partner who's working very well with us at the moment. I think that there is a lot of, you asked a question about exploration and what's next and all that sort of stuff. There's a whole bunch of what's next exploration on the Juanicipio ground. Right? We've got a Hollywood problem there. We can't get away from where we're drilling, because we keep finding more and more. And now we've found these perpendicular structures that run through the mineralisation. We've only explored 5% of the joint venture ground. Right? The discovery of the north-south structures has opened up another sort of opportunity for new discoveries on the joint venture ground. So we want to explore more there. So as we drill and find more and more resources around Valdecanes, and we know there's more on the joint venture ground, it makes a lot of sense to expand where you're already operating, where you've established yourself, you've got the relationship with the regulators, the community, all that sort of stuff. Going away to some other area in Mexico or another country, you start the permitting process, you drill, explore, go build your own mine and run it. That's a long-term horizon. We have the potential here to expand Juanicipio quite readily. In fact, we've embedded some capital now with expansion anticipated in the future, because it's so smart to put the money in oversizing things underground now. I think our next mine will be another mine at Juanicipio.
Okay. You talk about Hollywood type problems, but I'm looking at your share price, right? You've got all of these institutional guys piled in there, and you hand over fist. You've got some really big names. You'd be delighted to have these names on board. But the liquidity of the stock is just not there, because these guys don't sell. I mean, that's another kind of problem for you. I mean, how do you solve it?
Well, that's where we're very appreciative of the investment that Eric Sprott made in MAG in April. We believe that he and his followers have put MAG on a lot of investors' watch lists. I'm hoping that today, talking to you and your tentacles that reach out can just make more people aware of the story, because what we want to see is we want to see people come in. Yeah, a lot of people came in when MAG was $13 when Eric invested, and I hope they get out and make a bit of money and other people come in and keep going. So we need to get a bigger liquidity going. I also believe that, as we start to generate a lot of cash flow, we will generate a lot more than what we need to invest into the business. start to pay dividends, etc., different investors come in. You have to have the liquidity there to bring in the dividend type investment or generalist type investors. So Michael and I are really motivated in trying to get more retail investment into the story as well, and that's why we're doing this talk today.
Okay, great. So dividends is something that's high on the list of things to do, which is I think is great. What about, because again, when companies get bigger, they keep plowing money back into the ground, and they kind of forget about shareholders. They forget about doing those things which kind of get people excited. So, how do you tell the growth story and share on the upside? I mean, is it just a dividend story?
I think the potential for discoveries on the Juanicipio property is significant. Right? So to, let's say, expand Juanicipio to a second plant, for example, the incremental investment on that is extraordinarily high value because the road's built, the power line's in, the underground access is already there, right? The plant site's there, you just pour a bit more concrete, put another mill in, all those sort of things. So it's not like building a new mine from scratch if you expand brown fields, and that's high value. But the growth story is, while we're doing that, we found new veins. But we've got the expansion covered. Here's some dividends. Right? We have a couple of other properties in, not in Mexico actually, that we'd like to explore with time, and they're just off the radar at the moment. But they're small spends, and particularly if you've got high silver prices. Quite frankly, you solve Hollywood problems again. What do you do with all the cash? Even exploring the joint venture ground in earnest, right? There's a limit to how much you can drill, get the data, process the data, then work out where you go next, right? And we're very disciplined and controlled on how we do exploration. So as the joint venture property grows, potentially a multi-production assets there, we still got cash coming out of our ears.
You've got cash coming out of your ears, but you've got to get cash and create value with that cash, because cash is just cash. Okay, so the question I'm asking is, how do you stop yourself having big companies? By the way, there's another great Hollywood conversation we're having. How do you stop yourself becoming and having the problems that big companies do? I'm thinking of BT Gold. It's saw the heights came crashing down. People get distracted with big problems. Would a spin out would a spin out be part of the solution or potential solution going forward? Things like that. Absolutely. That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, absolutely. And we actually talk a lot about that because one of the problems you have when you have Juanicipio producing, the valuation of that dwarfs a discovery hole on one of your exploration assets. And maybe an elegant solution here, this is a forward-looking statement, but maybe an elegant solution here is that you take your next exploration plays, bring them out into MAG 2, give all your shareholders who have seen you through Juanicipio, and they're good shareholders and they've stuck by us, let's have another run up on the other side. At the same time, you've got big dividends coming in from your initial holding in MAG from the cash flow. So that's sort of one of the potential midterm strategies that we're embarking on.
Okay, I just want to understand that what's going on up here, right? It's your decision making that's affecting people's investments. So you're thinking of all the options by the sound of it. So thanks for sharing that. Okay, can we talk about, if you have anything to say about Reina Silver?
Oh yeah, I keep using the word how disciplined we are at MAG. Which is why we have a very high grade, rich deposit, and we don't have a whole list of other properties. Reina's underpinned by the Gigi property, which MAG had, I believe, from our IPO actually. I think it goes back that far. And we've done some drilling on it, but we talked about MAG being a small team. Our focus is absolutely Juanicipio. And we don't want to get distracted by anything else. We don't want to take funds we've raised for Juanicipio and put them into other aspects of exploration in the organisation. And so we thought it was prudent to put Gigi and Batapilas into another vehicle, and that's now Rayner. And, we're a 19.9% shareholder. We're a shareholder. Right? It doesn't occupy management time. It doesn't distract us. We focus on our task at hand, which is Juanicipio, and bringing that into production and working out what to do with all the cash from there.
You've got a lot of coverage. There's a lot of analysts covering you, and I think
Yep.
I think all but 3 of them are incorrect whenever you printed this PowerPoint, because obviously today, silver being what it is, you've exceeded their expectations. But I think it would be a reasonable argument to say that is possibly mostly down to the price of silver over the last week, 2 weeks. It's really motored, not so much about what you're doing or what you have done where you are today. So, because again, I come back to that diagram, this kind of a Lassonde curve type diagram. You've got a version of that in your PowerPoint. It's page 3, right? It's
Yep.
really important to you because it's page 3.
Yep.
You're saying you're at that point, that inflection point where you think there's going to be a re-rate based on what you're doing.
Yep.
So, I mean, do you believe that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you just have to look at you look at the multiples that silver producers have, and that puts you to the right-hand side of that curve, up nice and high. And you look at the multiple we currently have, and we're significantly below that. And I'd said we're getting into cash flow from pre-production material in the next month, and we're going to bring the plant on in the middle of next year. So a smart investor may think now's the opportunity while you're still down on that curve, because you're going to re-rate as you go up there. And you look at the margin on this property, we're going to be a significant producer. This is going to be the world's largest silver producing asset.
There's no doubt. We understand that. I have not spent a lot of time on the technicals because I think it's well understood. You've got high grade, it's large, you've got a great operator, you've got no debt, you've got enough cash, you're going to be generating cash soon, and you're going to be throwing off a lot of cash when you get into production. Totally get it. I'm interested in understanding, how do you get the market excited about the growth story, which may not be from underground, it may be about this corporate structuring, whether it be spin-outs with Mag Silver 2 or other ways that you could play the game. That's I think what excites me. So again, high-class problems to have, but that's what I'd want to be hearing from you.
So the spin-out in Mag Silver 2 is, a potential realisable scenario. We have the corporate structure already established, and we have the assets, right, to put in it. But don't forget, an expansion of Juanicipio is an incredible growth story, because it's such high value, because it's incremental investment to get double the production, let's say, because we're already there and the infrastructure is established. So, I mean, that's a remarkable value story as well.
It's remarkable, and you've got to deliver it, and I think it's great, and I want to see you do more. The bigger you get, the harder it gets, for sure. And now it's just execution for Fresnillo and yourselves, I guess.
Yeah, and we help out. We talk a lot as partners, and they're great mine builders and operators, but we've got experience doing it too. And sometimes, rarely, but sometimes a good idea can come up from our side, and it makes a difference, right?
I'm sure you're very vocal, George. It's a good story. The build itself is, I mean, just to be clear on the timing, that you think it gets into production when?
Middle of next year, we'll start commissioning the flotation plant.
Right, okay. And then you're processing, and you're off
By
and
the
running.
end of next year,
Yeah,
we'll be at 25%. But in the next month, we're going to start putting a campaign 2 days a month of material through the Fresnillo plant.
beautiful. George, thanks for the update, mate. We left it far too long. We're a year older and wiser. That's the good news. You're doing
I'm
good.
certainly older.
Same. But look, great to speak to you. The story's going well. I'd love to see you get this executed between now and the middle of next year, and hear what other exciting plans you've got. So appreciate your time. Thanks. Pick up the phone if there's anything good to say.
Okay. All the best, mate.